The night I wasn't the target, if I hadn't trusted my gut that night, I don't think I'd be here telling this story. This happened in 2017 when I was living in St. Petersburg, Florida. I was never the party type. I liked quiet nights, grocery runs to Walmart 4 miles away, and staying inside my comfort zone. Clubs, crowded bars, late nights, that wasn't me. But Jenna, a coworker about 10 years younger than me, refused to take no for an answer. For weeks, she begged me to come out with her and another girl from work, Mira. Every shift ended with, "You have to come out with us this weekend." I kept declining. Eventually, worn down and wanting to be polite, I agreed. That was my first mistake. The following Saturday, Jenna came to my apartment. She said she wanted to leave her car there and ride with me. That immediately made me uneasy. I barely drove outside my neighborhood. St. Pete's nightlife might as well have been another country. Still, I didn't want to seem difficult. So I drove. We picked up Mira from her apartment. She wasn't ready when we got there, so we waited inside. I remember standing in her living room feeling slightly out of place, like I'd already stepped into something that wasn't meant for me. Eventually, we made it to a busy club downtown. Loud music, packed dance floor, flashing lights, the kind of place where it's easy to disappear. We ordered drinks and found a spot to stand. Within minutes, Jenna said, "Oh, I see someone I know. I'll be right back." She pulled Mira with her. I stood there alone, annoyed. They had pushed me to come, and now I was just background decoration. A few minutes later, they returned smiling. My friend bought us around. Jenna said, handing me a drink. I didn't hesitate. She was my coworker. Why would I doubt her? We each had a drink, then another. I remember Jenna saying her friend was being generous tonight. I only had 3 drinks total, and I'm not a lightweight. Club drinks are usually watered down anyway. But halfway through the third one, something shifted. The room didn't spin. It was worse than that. A heavy wave of dread rolled over me, thick, suffocating, like my instincts were screaming through fog. My heart started pounding for no reason. "We need to go," I told Jenna, "right now. The next few hours feel like someone ripped pages out of my memory. I don't remember leaving the club. The first clear moment I have is sitting in my car outside Mira's apartment complex. I was in the driver's seat. The engine was running. Jenna and Mira were outside the car talking. I couldn't make out what they were saying. But something about their tone, or maybe a single word, triggered something primal in me. I didn't need details. I just knew I was in danger. I slammed the car into drive and sped off. Whatever had been slipped into my drink was strong. My thoughts felt scrambled, like static in my brain. Streetlights streaked. Turns didn't make sense. I knew St. Pete in theory, but in that moment, I couldn't even remember how to get home. I was driving aimlessly, trying to outrun something I couldn't see. Then it happened. I stopped at a red light. Out of nowhere, 2 figures appeared at my driver's side window. Before I could process what I was seeing, someone yanked my door handle. The door opened. To this day, I still don't understand how. My car automatically locks when it's in gear. It always has. But somehow, 2 strange men were pulling my door open while I was sitting there, barely conscious. That sight, their hands on my car, cut through the fog just enough. I hit the gas. The door slammed shut as I sped through the red light. I didn't look back. After that, my memory fractures again. The next thing I remember, I was parked near a row of quiet houses. No traffic, no people, just silence. I was staring at my phone in my hand. I couldn't figure out how to unlock it. That's how drugged I was. Simple movements felt impossible. Every sound made me paranoid. I kept checking my mirrors, convinced someone was coming. Eventually, exhaustion won. I reclined the seat and fell into a deep, unnatural sleep. I woke up around 5 a.m. The fog had thinned, my thoughts were clearer, my mouth was dry, my head pounding. This time I could use my phone. I turned on GPS and drove straight home. I don't remember the drive, just collapsing into bed. When I woke again around 11 a.m., my phone was flooded with missed calls. Mostly from Jenna, a few from another friend. I called Jenna back. She sounded frantic. "Where did you go? We were so worried." I didn't match her tone. "Your friend spiked my drink," I said. I wasn't staying to find out what was going to happen. There was a pause. Then she said something I will never forget. "The drinks weren't meant for you." She said it casually, like it was an unfortunate mix-up. That single sentence confirmed everything. She was involved. She quickly changed the subject and said she'd come by later to pick up her car. After hanging up, something else came back to me, the men at the red light. For a split second, I wondered if I had hallucinated it. So I went outside to check my car. The plastic casing on my driver's side door handle was completely missing. Ripped off, not cracked, not loose, gone. Whoever had been holding that handle when I sped away must have been yanked hard enough to tear it clean off. It wasn't a hallucination. Someone had tried to get into my car while I was drugged, disoriented, and alone. And the most terrifying part, the drinks weren't meant for me, which means I was never the target. I never spoke to Jenna again. I didn't report it. At the time, I was too shaken, too confused, and honestly too ashamed for not seeing it sooner. But I learned something that night. Your instincts don't whisper for no reason. When your body says something is wrong, listen. Because sometimes your brain hasn't caught up yet, but your survival already has. And if I hadn't trusted that feeling outside Mira's apartment, I might not have gotten the chance to wake up at all. The dunes in my town are known for sunsets and family walks, not for fear. I live in a lively coastal town that floods with tourists every summer. During peak season, the beach is packed. Kids building sandcastles, dogs running through the surf, couples walking along the dunes. But once school starts again, everything changes. The evenings get darker, the air gets colder, and the dunes become quiet. Too quiet. I'm part of a local scout group. We're divided by age, younger kids, all the way up to the oldest group, which I'm in. We meet every Thursday evening from 7 to 9 p.m. The first meeting after summer break is always held near the sand dunes. It's tradition. The younger scouts hike up the tallest dune, a massive hill we call the Baldy Man. When they reach the top, they're officially welcomed in. That night, everything felt normal. The younger scouts headed up first. A few of the survivors stayed behind to practice first aid without pushing weapons if they fell. By the time we reached the dunes, the tide was getting up. We couldn't walk along the beach without catching hurt. It was darker than expected. No torches, just moonlight outlining the dunes in silver. Four of us, me, Noah, Thomas, and Nina, decided to head toward the Baldy Man to catch up with the scouts. The rest split off behind also checkpoints so we wouldn't get lost. The dunes are strange at night. During the day, they feel small. At night, they feel endless. We stumbled through tall grass and uneven sand, tripping over roots and scraping our legs on brambles. The wind was still, unnaturally still. After about 10 minutes, we stopped on a ridge to catch our breath. That's when Thomas shushed us. At first, he looked unsure, then slightly concerned. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. We all shook our heads. He said he thought he heard something moving in the bushes. We blamed the wind. Except there wasn't any. We continued on. Finally, we reached the top where the scouts were gathered. We congratulated the new members, joked around for a few minutes, but it was already pitch black now. It was time to head back. We slid down the main dune and started retracing our steps through the hills. Eventually, we saw the outline of the ridge where two of our group, Cormac and Alice, had been waiting earlier. They were still there, relief washed over us, until we got closer. Even in the dark, I could see it. Cormac wasn't relaxed, he was rigid, and Alice, who was normally calm and quiet, looked like she had been crying. Cormac looked directly at me. His voice was low. "Were you walking around down there on your own?" The way he said it made my stomach drop. Because we hadn't been alone. We had been together the entire time, and judging by the look on his face, he thought he had seen one of us walking through the dunes. By themselves, there's a specific kind of silence that only exists in wide, open places at night. The dunes had that silence. Cormac's voice cut through it. "Were you walking around down there on your own?" He wasn't joking. He wasn't confused, he was scared. Even without a torch, I could see it, the tightness in his jaw, the way Alice stood stiff beside him, visibly shaking. "No," I said immediately. "I've been with them the whole time." Why? For a second, nobody spoke. It felt like the temperature dropped 10 degrees. Alice swallowed. We saw someone. Cormac pointed toward a clearing between the dunes, a shallow dip where people sometimes hung out during the day. A man, all black, hood up. He kept circling that clearing, like he was waiting. My heart began hammering so loudly I could hear it in my ears. "We thought it was you at first," Cormac continued. "But it didn't make sense. When we waved at you earlier from the ridge, he wasn't there. The second you left, he was standing exactly where you had been, just watching in your direction." It hit all of us at once. Thomas's face went pale. "That's what I heard," he whispered, "when we were on the ridge. Something moving in the bushes. We hadn't imagined it. We hadn't been alone." The dunes suddenly felt enormous and small at the same time, like something could be just over every hill. There were 6 of us standing there, strength in numbers, we told ourselves, but numbers don't mean much in the dark. Cormac made a decision. We go down to the clearing, stick together. No one argued. As we approached, every rustle of grass felt amplified. Every shadow looked wrong. The clearing was empty when we reached it, just flattened sand and wind, carved ridges. "He didn't even have a torch," Alice said quietly, "who walks out here in pitch black without one." That detail sat heavy in my stomach. Someone who didn't want to be seen. Cormac and Alice jogged off to warn the scout leaders at the Baldy Man, while the rest of us stood frozen in the clearing, scanning the dunes. It was too quiet. No wind, no insects, just us breathing. When they returned, they said the leaders were gathering everyone to head back to the car park immediately. We moved fast. The younger scouts were clustered together, confused but unaware of the full situation. We didn't want to panic them. We were almost out of the densest part of the dunes when it happened. A younger scout screamed, not a playful shout, a real scream. Everyone froze. Noah and I ran toward the sound. The kid was pointing with shaking hands toward a ridge to our left. And there he was, standing perfectly still at the top. Black hoodie, dark pants, no light, just watching us, even from a distance. Something about him felt wrong. Not lost, not curious, intentional. No, his voice came out sharp. "Run, now." Later, he said he saw something metallic in the man's hand. A blade catching moonlight. I didn't see it. I didn't want to. The Ventures, the older ones, grabbed the smaller scouts without hesitation. Some carried them, some dragged them. We didn't look heroic. We looked terrified. Behind us, sand shifted. I don't know if he followed. I never turned around. The car park lights came into view like a lifeline. Once we hit pavement, something inside me finally released enough to breathe. Parents arrived quickly. Leaders tried to stay calm while making calls. Everyone had their own version of what they'd seen, but only a handful of us knew the full truth. He had been there long before we realized. Watching, moving when we moved. standing exactly where we had just stood. I never saw his face, and I don't ever want to. The scariest part about stalking is how normal it looks at first. This happened when I was 22, working as a bartender at a small dive bar just a few blocks from my apartment. It wasn't glamorous, just locals, cheap beer, and whatever game was playing on TV. I recognized the regulars quickly. Most were harmless, older guys who tipped decently and talked about sports, but there was one who made my skin crawl. His name was Jared. I only knew that from his credit card. Late 30s, thinning hair, always wearing the same brown jacket, no matter the weather. He came alone, sat at the bar alone, and tried to talk to me the entire time. Not flirty, not charming. Focused. He didn't care about the TV, didn't care about anyone else, just me. He asked personal questions, sometimes where I lived, if I had roommates, what I did outside work. I kept answers vague and short. Polite but distant. That's part of the job. One Friday night, he came in around 10 p.m. Like usual, he ordered one beer and sat there for nearly an hour nursing it, watching, not obvious enough to call out, but enough that every time I glanced up, he was already looking. Near the bottom of his glass, he said, "You ever want to hang out outside of work?" I didn't hesitate. No, I keep work and personal life separate. His expression shifted instantly, the friendliness drained from his face. He forced a smile, tossed cash on the bar. Yeah, whatever. No tip. He'd always tipped before. That small change bothered me more than I expected. My shift ended at midnight. The next bartender came in. I counted my tips, threw on my hoodie, and stepped outside. The street was quiet. It was always quiet at that hour. 7-minute walk home. I'd done it hundreds of times. I had just turned onto the next block when I heard my name. My stomach dropped immediately. I turned. Jared was standing under a lamppost. I hadn't heard him approach. He waved slightly and started walking toward me. I stopped but kept distance. He apologized for leaving abruptly, said he gets nervous sometimes. I nodded, said it was fine, and told him I needed to get home. He smiled. Just one more thing, he said. Can I get your Instagram, Snapchat? I promise I won't bother you. I don't use social media, I replied. He stared at me for a long second. That's weird, he said softly. I've seen you on Instagram at the bar before. My pulse spiked. How I didn't respond. I just said, please leave me alone. He smiled again. Okay, have a good night. I turned and started walking. A few seconds later, I heard footsteps behind me. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. Then I looked back. He was half a block behind me, walking the same direction. I sped up. He sped up. I slowed. He slowed. It felt deliberate, controlled, like he was testing me. I kept walking toward my apartment building, hoping he'd turn off. He didn't. When I reached my building, instead of going straight to the door, I crossed the street. He stopped when I stopped, standing under a tree, mostly in shadow. Why are you following me? I yelled. I'll call for help. No response, just standing there. My boyfriend lives with me. I shouted. I'm getting him right now. That was a lie. I lived alone. I rushed back across the street and punched in the building code. The door buzzed open for a few seconds. As I pulled it open, I heard sudden, fast footsteps. I turned. He was running. I bolted inside and let the door slam behind me, not even checking if it latched properly. I ran up the stairs to the second floor. Halfway up, I heard the building door bang open. He made it in. His footsteps pounded up the stairs, fast, heavy, getting closer. My hands were shaking so badly, I dropped my keys twice before getting one into the lock. The stairwell echoed with his steps. I threw myself inside my apartment and slammed the door, locking it just as he reached the hallway. A split second later, his entire body smashed into my door. The impact shook the frame. I screamed and stumbled backward. He hit it again, harder, like he was trying to break it down. Then another door opened in the hallway. A man's voice shouted, "What the hell are you doing?" Silence, then rapid footsteps retreating down the stairs. I ran to the peephole. My older neighbor stood in the hallway, confused and angry. Jared was already halfway down the stairs, not saying a word. My neighbor knocked gently. I opened the door just enough to see him and burst into tears. He stayed with me while I called the police. They took it seriously, very seriously. I gave them Jared's full name from his credit card. The building owner pulled security footage showing him running inside after me. My boss handed over bar footage too. The next day, an officer called me. They had identified him fully. Charges were being sent to the prosecutor: stalking and unlawful entry. I filed for a restraining order the following morning. I had to recount everything to a judge while they reviewed the police report and security footage. The order was approved immediately. He was served soon after. I kept working at the bar for a while, but I never walked home alone again. Even with the restraining order, even with charges filed, every time I turned onto my street at night, I felt that same tightness in my chest. Because the truth is, it only takes one person watching, one person waiting, one person deciding you're alone. And sometimes the only reason you're safe is because someone else heard the door shake.